It's James here from the 11 Plus Tutors. Today I'm just going to talk about new directions in last year's CSSE paper. That's the paper that confusingly says 2025 entry, so it's almost a year ahead. For copyright reasons, I can't really scan this and go through it on the screen. I'm going to give you a summary of what I think. So if we look at this, it follows a general trend where I think that because the exam's getting more competitive, therefore it is getting more challenging, but in certain ways. So I think the general trend is just more stuff in there. I think with the maths, more topics. I've noticed. I've not done a proper analysis yet, but if I look through, it seems to be a much greater spread of topics than before. So if I look at maths here, distance, speed, time, that's come before in previous papers, and it's something that I'm going to be doing and going through the summer with my groups. We've seen this before, and this is a favourite. Again, something I'm starting to go on to now in my tuition groups is not only percentages, but the reverse percentage aspect of that. I'll talk about that in a future video. Averages, but also inverse, so the reverse of an average as well. That's important. Unit conversions is a favourite. Charts are always in there. Sequences. Now, there's nth term. There's also something that looks to be a non-nth term type sequence as well. So we need to look at that. Area is in there. The favourite where they have sums that might include order operations, bidmas, but there might be missing numbers in there with blank boxes. That's a favourite. Decimals are always in there. Fractions are always in there. Ratio is always in there somewhere. I always tell kids about this. It's also about spotting a ratio question. So I talk through with kids how to identify what is a ratio question. There's always one or two, I think, where you don't have to know algebra, but it helps, okay? So they always drop in one or two outside the box questions that might be, year 6 knowledge or above, to solve that. For English, what we're seeing here, we've analysed it. Obviously, we saw the disappearance of applied reasoning last year. That happened. We knew that would be the case this year. There are more questions in the comprehension because of this. What we are seeing as a direction is no big mark questions. So before we've seen, one question with 6 marks or 5 marks, it seems to be more questions with fewer marks, but there's much more of an emphasis on truly understanding the story. So the text is not difficult. We're not seeing Dickensian type text. We're seeing popular classic books, text for children. We're seeing that. We just want a few hard words, but nothing crazy. But what we are seeing is a heavy emphasis on true understanding, inference, looking for the clues in the text, and understanding perspectives, understanding context of what's happening, all those types of things. And I've said before, getting each child to think about inference is important, maybe get them to review a chapter of their reading book, the who, the what, the when, the why of the story, what's really going on. Not just scanning through text and picking up a fact, but understanding what is going on, what the context is. So, in summary, I think the maths it's not getting harder in a sense, it's getting harder in the sense they've got to be master of more things, I would say, last year. And I can see, usually it's a trend, so I would expect this type of thing to continue into September's exam. I would definitely expect this to be a trend. I would definitely expect there to be more questions than there were before. And I would definitely expect not a non-Dickensian type text, just popular classic type thing, but much more of an emphasis on inference, understanding. I would love to do one of these videos on the Future Stories exam, but I can't because it is it's a black box exam. They will not release anything. All we get is the pre-release information, and we get anecdotal hearsay stuff from people coming out of the exam. That's all we get, and word for within the industry. That's what we get. So this is the best we've got at the moment about CSSE. It certainly gives you something to think about. When I look at this, I'm always quite relieved. know, I looked at last year's paper, and this is definitely things that I cover, you know. So it doesn't, none of the stuff surprises me. I'm quite happy about it, to be honest with you. I'm always quite happy to see the previous year's paper. I hope that's been interesting. I look forward to seeing you next time.